Welcome to Roasting the World. We offer an adversary perspective on today's cultural issues. We do it for the intelligent culture. I'm your host, Keenan Robinson, and we have a very special guest today, a repeat performance from
Scott OG, a.k.a. Big Fish, MJ, Mike.
the man of so many names. So, we had a really good show about success on Roasting the World. Was it a year ago? Something like that, maybe?
I had here.
It was close to a year ago. And we got a lot of good feedback. A lot of people said they needed to come back and get some more clarity on some of the things that we discussed. So we're going to talk about success, but we're also just going to talk about life in general, kind of rapid fire a little bit, and just talk about some of the up-to-date issues of today. So I know kind of gave a rundown the last time you were here, kind of filling our audience on who you are, what you do, things like that. Just a little,
Who am I?
Yeah, who are you, man?
I'm a man who wears many hats, who's involved in a lot of things, from coaching kids in basketball, trying to learn the market, trying to figure out what success looks like, trying to figure out what retirement looks like. I work in IT. I'm a family man, and I try to be as good of a friend as possible.
All right. So when we talk about success, one of the things that I took from our last interview was success for people is different.
Right.
For a person that may not have food, getting a meal is success. Where some people may take that stuff for granted because they're so used to having it.
Right.
So it's all kind of like beauty in the eyes of the beholder. And I just kind of wanted to get like your overall, perspective on what you think success looks like for you.
It depends on the day. You asked me.
Depends
really.
on the day?
Yeah, I mean, are my children, being productive, or are they sitting around with struggles?
Right.
If they out thriving, then I feel like I'm successful by seeing them being successful. If everything's working around the house and I ain't got to worry about fam for nothing, I feel like that's success. When I'm working on architecting a network or something like that, and we've had this mass issue, and I'm able to resolve it, then that's success.
So it's kind of day to day.
Yeah.
So okay, now you mentioned your kids, and that's something that I kind of have been talking to different people about concerning success. We have some people that are 25 years old, 29 years old, still live with their parents,
right.
Are not on their own, have not had a straight job. They chose maybe to, kind of have fun.
Right.
They're still alive. They're not in prison. That could be a success. How do we set our children up to figure out what success looks like for them? The reason why I asked that question is because me, as a father, sometimes I have the same expectations for my kid that I had for me.
Right.
And they got to live their own life and walk their own path.
Right.
So with that knowledge, right, how sometimes I need to step back and let them find their passions.
Right.
And like my daughter once told me, because I was like, yeah, get in the movie, get in the studio, do this. And she was like, Dad, you want it more than I do.
Right.
And she was like, I have to want it. I have to, have that fire and desire for it. And it seems like a lot of our youth these days lack that fire. Like they don't have that push like the previous generation to say, I have to go and cut my own path, in the world, and do what I need to do to be successful. It may have been because maybe our parents were different and they were like, get out.
Right.
Or they were like, go do something. You can't just sit in the house. We're outside.
Right.
These kids are not outside.
Right.
They're experiencing their world through computers, laptops, tablets, phones, social media, where they don't have to go out really to do it. You can DoorDash food, you can Uber somewhere, you don't even know how to drive. I don't know how many people I know that are 16, 17, 18 years old.
Older.
And don't even want to drive.
I want to.
What? I couldn't wait to get in
Get
the
out.
whip and
Yeah,
smash.
right,
I'm
right.
practicing on live boys. I'm asking people to drive the car.
Right.
Man, so yeah, I'm sorry I went on a tangent, but I just wanted to kind of pose that to you. What does that look like to try to get that, not just your kids, but youth. You say you talk to different, coach basketball and different things like that. And how do you motivate them to cut their own path in the world and not just kind of live?
I don't know, but if I had the right answer, I'd probably be worth something. I ain't worth
nothing.
nothing.
Man, worth a lot.
I ain't worth nothing. So, bruh, it's gonna be different from everybody. You know, as a parent, you want to give them everything you didn't have, right?
Right.
And then you want to give them stuff, but then you don't want to give them too much, because if you give them too much, they ain't gonna want for nothing. So it's a balance of trying to figure out, what's the right way to do things. I remember asking one of my children the other day. I was like, if you went to college, I'd like help you pay for it. But I've always told them I'm not paying for your college, because I don't want them to think I'm going to college and I'm partying. You making me go to college and I don't want to go, and then you just wasted your money.
Right.
So I want them to put in the effort to fill out the scholarships and things like that, because there's just a plethora of them out there. You just got to put in work to get it done.
And they got the 2-year free thing.
Right, and things like that. So, I asked her, here recently, I was like, now if I had told you this, which one would motivate you more? And she's like, no, it's a tough one. So it's that whole balancing thing of just trying to figure out what motivates that child. Expose them to everything and see where they thrive. And then when they are excited about something, be excited with them, but don't push them too hard in it, because they still got to want it for themselves.
Right.
They might have that initial butterfly effect.
Right.
Of feeling it here, like, oh, I really like this, but then like, nah, I don't really like it.
Right.
I thought
And
I would.
they switch real
And then
fast.
you get mad because
Like,
your expectations are like, oh, I done invested
I done
all
bought you
this,
cleats
this,
and
got you
pads.
going. Yeah.
Oh,
and then you
man.
just throw it away, and like,
Yeah.
dang. So
That sucks.
So yeah, that's the part, man. It's just you gotta be fluid like water. Just be ready to change, because the times are different. It was a lot simpler for us.
Right.
It was the hard work that we saw. Right. Get up, hard work, put food on the table. Now you got kids who's making millions just doing videos.
Yeah.
Or making
themselves
look stupid. So it's like, who am I to tell you what
works and what doesn't work?
Exactly.
Yeah. It kind of made me think about this quote from Dr. McCarger, who was one of my professors at Tennessee State University. Shout out TSU. Shout out Dr. McCarger. But he said, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to education. And let me pivot off of that and say, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to life.
Right.
To where what may make somebody break down, another person may take that same circumstance and ball out of control.
Man, let me tell you something about what you just said. It took me, this was just 5 years ago that I learned this. I could read a book beforehand. I was in honors classes. Not that I was necessarily like super smart, but if I applied myself, I could have done it. But I just did it to get out the class where everybody's acting wild. So I'd read a book, ask me what I read, I couldn't tell you. 5 years ago, I'm sitting there trying to study for certifications and stuff. I realized I had to be playing video games while watching a video on teaching, while having something else on, to keep myself stimulated.
Right.
Because if not, I would just get too bored with what I was reading and just like zone out. But if all these things keeping me stimulated, then I was like starting to be more receptive of the input I was getting. So crazy as that is, but like, that's what I learned here in recent times.
And you kind of touching on something, because I find myself working on something for work and writing a script and editing some film and playing a video game and maybe even talking on the phone or something.
Right.
And I'm able to juggle all these things, and it's like controlled chaos or organized chaos, to where all this stuff is going on, to where maybe if I just was sitting there doing one thing, I wouldn't be as successful. And I've noticed that sometimes even when I'm cleaning up, if I'm talking on the phone to somebody, it makes the process go way faster. And I'm like not even thinking about it.
Not so burdensome.
I'm just doing. Yeah. And so I think there may be something to that.
With certain people, though.
Yeah,
right?
it's not for everybody.
Not for everyone.
Some people need complete silence and got to focus on what they're doing. But for me and yourself, apparently, we thrive in multiple things going on.
Yeah.
And just, keeping our minds, like some people, crunch time, or when it's like the deadline is about to approach. Like if you got a paper due and it's due on Wednesday, you don't do anything until Tuesday night at 11:59. Then you're like, oh, I gotta get a da-da-da-da. And then you get an A on it, and you think,
And then how do you get them to change that? Because it's working.
it's working. You got to.
You might not agree with it.
Right.
It might drive you insane, but for
Right.
them,
Right.
it works. So how you gonna talk them out of that?
You don't.
Right.
You don't. You try to put that lightning in a bottle and say, okay, well, here's the next task.
Right.
Here's the next task, and do it and be successful at it, regardless of how.
Right.
Just like there's a new math curriculum coming out for education where they do it differently than we were taught, and then certain kids do it even a different way. But if you get the right answer, what difference does it make how you got there?
I've heard something about that. I don't know. This is hearsay. There's no facts that I know of.
Okay.
But I heard it was just to help the teachers out to keep from being so bored teaching the same thing over and over. Hey, could it be true? I don't know. It drives me crazy trying to sit there and go through this long. Like, we ain't doing long division in second grade. What is all this that we doing?
Right. That is true. It is very cumbersome. It is for our educators, and they have a really tough job. They're superheroes out here. Coming from the educational field and being around people that teach. It is very difficult because a lot of times we spend more time with kids than they do with their parents and at home. So we have to pour into them the same things that we would do if we were raising our own kids.
Right, but then you got the parents at home, they trying to learn this so they can help their child out, and then they arguing this already, the child already flustered, and now the parents flustered, and ain't too much getting accomplished at that point.
And some didn't have a successful educational life themselves.
Right, yeah.
So when they try to come in, they just like confused as the kid. So that's where tutoring comes in, and extra studying, talking to the teacher, figuring out different ways. But that's kind of crazy.
Hold on, real quick on that subject. So you might be like, right, you just expect me to believe you playing video games while studying this, while watching a podcast or watching the sports on TV. Yeah, and there are times where I'm playing a game and got all these stimulants going, but then they'll hit on something that I need a little bit more in depth on. So instead of my video playing at 1.5, 2 times speed, because that's what I play them on, I'll be like, okay, press pause. Let me go back because I need to digest this a little bit deeper instead of just skimming through. Like, okay, I know this is something that I need to time a little bit for, and then I'll go back and set everything aside for just that minute because it don't require too much focus.
It's a critical piece.
Right, exactly.
It's a critical piece, yeah. And I think in life we come to those critical junctures where sometimes, we're moving fast. People living fast. They doing whatever they're doing out here to survive. But sometimes there's forks in the road. That really determine your success in life. Yeah. To where if you went to the right, you're going to end up in the morgue, or you're going to end up in prison, or you're going to end up with a record, or you're going to end up with a kid out of wedlock, or whatever the situation may be that's going to change your life. To where if you think about it, Uncle Rob said you need to observe the situation, make a plan, and then act on it. And sometimes, in order to be successful, you have to look at what's really going on around you. Right. You have to make a plan and say, this is how I'm going to attack this. Right? And then you do it. And if you fail, okay, you fail forward. But if you're successful, then you know how to attack things. You win. And it's kind of like that in life where there are times where it's pivotal. And you meet a girl, you have an option where you're gonna marry her or not. If you don't marry her, this is what your life gonna do. If you do marry, this is what your life gonna do. If you go to college, this is what your life gonna do. If you don't, this is what's gonna do. Right. If you rob this bank, this is what's. If you sell,
you get caught. Why you doing that?
This is what's gonna happen. And a lot of people don't think about the consequences until they've already gone into motion.
All right. So full disclosure, I was a knucklehead and a teenager. I was at the clubs and stuff like that. But there would be a time where I'm like, this don't feel right. I'm backing
that
up.
Intuition.
And I'm like, I got y'all's back on anything, but it better be about something and not just for nothing. If I'm gonna have y'all's back to that fullest extent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because why crash out?
Right.
There's people in jail right now because they crashed out over a girl,
right.
or they crashed out over a guy, or they crashed out over a situation because somebody stepped on their shoe, or bumped into them, or said they were ugly, or whatever. Right. It's people in high school, and I tell kids this. I say, right now, y'all are in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, right? Y'all got a problem. Y'all fighting and all this stuff. 10, 15 years from now, y'all see each other in the club. You're going to say, I remember seeing him. I don't like him. Now y'all got a problem. Somebody ends up dead, hurt. You end up with a charge. Guess what? you got to let that go. Because at that
Right.
second right there,
Right.
that's changing the trajectory of your life.
Right.
You know, and I really need for our youth to become cognitive of their decisions because it's affecting their success.
Right.
A lot of them are running in, you know, these groups and they don't have an individual mind. They're like have a pack mentality to where if one person says go, they're going. And they might not be built like that.
Right.
You know, are you really built to sit in the bathroom with the door closed for 20 years
Yeah.
with another person?
Without the toilet that's
You
closed
know what I'm
and
saying?
wide open.
And it's like, are you really built to have to be in these situations where now you're in a box? You know, or your family's mourning you.
Right.
You know? And I really want our youth to figure out what success looks like for them. I ask kids all the time, I say, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? A lot of them can't tell me. You know, I couldn't tell somebody when I was their age what I wanted to be. I remember somebody, I said, I want to be an entrepreneur. I didn't even know what it really meant,
Right.
but it sounded good. Like, I want to own businesses and different things like that, which I'm currently doing, but I didn't really understand.
Right.
I think what our older generation and our adults need to do is kind of pour more into our youth and kind of, and I know they're trying, and sometimes it's about receptiveness of the youth, but to try to give them an example.
Okay, but what you just said, I knew I wanted to be in IT since I was young.
Okay.
Nobody around me was in IT, so what does that look like?
Then
How
you
do I
got to
get there?
seek out people that are in IT.
Well, I sought them out.
And what happened?
I had to figure it out on my own eventually.
And that's probably what all people are going to have to do.
Because there's a lot of us, parents and stuff that they just don't know. That's why they can't tell you, they can't guide you.
Right.
Because they've been put off in this box and told you this is all that you could do. And you go to work and
Created
do
a lot
it.
of workers instead of producers.
Right.
Consumers instead of producers. So how do we change that so that we can, and you may not have the answer to this, but how do we change that so that our kids do have like someone that they can go to in the field that they want to go to, whatever their passion is. If they want to do nails, if they want to paint houses, whatever it is, that they can go to this person and kind of do like an internship type of thing.
You're asking a good question. I don't think it's quite I wouldn't say necessarily it's quite the right question because let's say you've got a child that says, I want to do law.
Right.
Okay, there's several branches of law.
Right. Got to be specific.
So they don't know which branch of law they want to go into.
Right.
Okay, so then you say, okay, do we know anybody that we can get you in so that you could see what these different types of law are and like, does it intrigue you more?
Right.
And then on top of that, not just law, but any other jobs, like, okay, this is what you want to be? Let's look at the salary ranges for those.
Right.
Do you think you could live off of that?
Right.
Do you want to be good with it? Do you see what it takes to get that?
Right.
So
are you willing to put in the work?
Right. So I think it's just, once they say they don't want to do something, okay, let's look at what this looks like long term, and then the job applicants and what they're requesting for that particular job.
That could be a barrier too, because if I say, hey, I want to be a principal, right? Because they see, principals, look like them, and they be like, oh yeah, well you gotta be a teacher for 10 years, you gotta go to school and get this degree, you gotta.
But when you say it like that, it's like
kind of put a negative slant. It straps you in.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead of
so being more optimistic and giving more positive, uplifting information about it versus it's a hard road,
it's
man.
A grind,
but that may be true,
right.
But as a person that wants it, just like if you played any sport, some days gonna be harder than others.
Well, if you're passionate about it, if you're doing it because your parents told you to do it, or made you do it, you might be doing it because you want to seek their approval and get them and for them to be happy. Not even that you want to do it.
Even if you're passionate about it, it's still hard.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got to put it. You got to what they say. You got to be shooting them shots in the gym, and some days you don't want to go. That's when you got to find that internal grit to say, I'm gonna keep doing it because you want the outcome. You want the success at the end.
And that's something I don't think it can be taught. It's just something.
That's true. Some people got it and some don't.
Yeah.
So what do you do if it's your kid that has it first? You're going to encourage them. But what if you got that kid that's kind of, kind of doesn't really have it, and they can't just live off of you for the rest of their life?
So what I do, whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. I take away some of those incentives around the house because if
Okay.
you ain't got nothing to work towards, you got all the food to eat everywhere
'Cause
that
they
you
just
want.
living.
You have the video games and everything. Nah, we're gonna taper that down and put it on a schedule.
Right.
Because now you got too much time to sit here and do what you're doing. So
Yeah.
if you got too much time to do that, then you don't have the opportunity to be like, you know what, this ain't working. I need something else.
Sometimes all they need is a phone. And they're gonna be surfing the internet on YouTube.
That's why I lock it down.
What's it called? IG, TikTok.
Right,
I mean,
right.
you could be on that for hours.
But like, dang, I didn't mean to spend that much time
I
on
mean,
it.
you're doing that for hours when you could have been so much more productive
Right.
and actually took some steps to fulfill your dreams.
Right.
But they're not. I think it's a distraction. You know, and this may not be true, but this is what I heard, right? I heard that the algorithm that I think China made, or maybe
On TikTok?
was for, in their country, they give a lot of views and notoriety to people that are like inventing things and creatives and like mathematical, science, engineering, smart stuff, right? But the algorithm for other countries, especially let's say America, is like foolishness.
Yeah.
And that's what gets pushed.
Well, 'cause
So
they're
is that
getting
a
views.
psychological warfare?
Of course.
And if we see that, why
Because-
do we still run down that road? If we know that this is happening, why not make an adjustment?
Because people have seen what could be from it. And
What do you
so
mean?
Everybody wants it. Those views, the money
Oh,
from it, and things
okay,
like that.
okay.
My instant fame.
Right,
You know?
right.
Things like that.
Instant gratification.
Right.
But-
Me being
but-
seen.
And that's success for them.
Yeah, I mean, look at some of your celebrities and stuff. They're on there just as much because they still
They want that. They crave that.
they crave that attention. Yeah, so
They
you
crave
know,
that attention. And you know, one thing that really that happened to me is I was in an administrative position a few years back, and it kind of defined me. Like I was it was all consuming. The job was all consuming to where I was thinking about it at night. I was doing it,
Right.
and then suddenly I wasn't in the budget anymore. I was let go.
Right.
And then when I talk to people, yes, I'm this and I'm that, right? But then when I'm not that, I had to figure out who am I?
Or am I outside of it?
Who am I outside of these things?
Or am I somebody
Or
outside
am
of
I
it?
right? And why does this define me so much
Right.
when I'm a father? I'm a family man. I'm a man of God. I'm a musician.
Right.
I'm a writer. All these other things, but I hadn't had as much success, or people don't
Right.
look at you the same way. Just, oh, you're a dad, everybody's dad.
Right,
Oh,
right.
you rap, everybody raps. Oh, you sing, everybody. You write, everybody
Right.
write. But oh, I'm this, so it kind of boosts you up a little bit. Your head gets a little bit swole, but then how quickly God gives you something, He can quickly take that away from you, even if you feel like you're using it the right way.
Right.
So it kind of was like, am I still successful when I'm not in that position? And and I think that's where a lot of our athletes and movie stars and people that just have high positions, they get that highfalutin attitude. They got the money that comes with it, and then their career is over.
Yeah.
The average NFL career is like 4 to 6 years.
Yep.
And then it's over.
That's it.
And if you don't utilize your money right, you're going to be
Broke
working at
right away.
McDonald's.
Utilize your money right, have the right accountant, have the
Right.
right people on your side, then
Right. And just imagine if you're not making that kind of money, but you have the prestige, you have that position, right? Say,
you're used to everything given to you
yeah,
everywhere
everybody
you went.
shaking your hand like, yeah, that's such. And
Right,
then they say, what's the word? You're washed.
Right.
Like, you're washed now. So how do you pick yourself up and still contribute to society properly when you don't have that same spotlight, notoriety, people gassing you up, and all of those things? Because that's where a lot of people have those mental health issues.
Right.
And things go left because they're like, well, I don't have any more value. I don't have
That's
any
it.
more worth.
Right.
And we want to make sure that people know, hey, man, success is not just based on how much money you have, what kind of, car you drive, house you live in, or what kind of, title that you have, for your name. Success can be waking up in the morning, and taking care of your kids.
Right.
You know what I mean? And one thing that I learned was sometimes I don't have 100% to give. Sometimes I only got 20%, 40%, 60%, but that's my 100%.
That day.
So if I give that,
Right.
I'm hoping that is appreciated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I've given you all that I have.
Right.
And then you got to look in the mirror and you got to talk to God and say, hey, man, I did everything that I can do. That's success. Versus, you know, I could have did more. And we always want to push to the next level, right? But you only got what you got. We're only here for a limited amount of time.
And we're so small compared to the world. We get so trapped in this bubble of this city or town that we live in,
Right.
and we attribute what we got with what's around us.
Right.
And you go somewhere else, and you
Big
live in
fish in a
large.
small
Yeah,
pond.
you live in large over here. Like
Yeah.
you go see that you got it better than a lot of these other people
Right.
and things like that. So I think we just got to get out of our own way sometime and try to look at the bigger picture, which isn't easy to do. I'm not saying it's not, but we really gotta like make ourselves get out. Like, how many people do y'all know that haven't been on an airplane or left their state or town or anything? You know, they just so confined and like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to go nowhere.
Right.
Like, so your eyes are still here. You know, you like the horse with the blinders on.
Right. I mean, even with, let's look at poverty. Because people in America swear they poor. Right? I feel like I've been poor. You know, I'm sleeping outside and eating crackers for dinner and getting clothes from the church and having to live with different families and different things of that nature. But that poverty, yes, it was rough for me at that time. It's nothing like poverty in a third world country. It's nothing like seeing people beside you, ribs poking, starving to death in real life.
Right.
And yes, we have homelessness problem, you know, in America and all over the world, right? But it's different levels to it. We have shelters here, we have different programs, and some things are based on some of the decisions that we made, you know?
Right.
Some things are socially, you know, done, and it's a lot of different reasons for all those things, but we have to get to a point where we can figure out how do we make the people that are the most downtrodden back into our society to be, you know, workers or not successful and to be family people.
That's
and
the problem. You can't.
How come?
You can't force nobody.
Not force, but give them the opportunity to be able to.
Well, I mean, there's those that choose to be on the streets because they don't want to work like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
And then you have those who have got so strung out on drugs that they have lost their families and stuff, and so they are on the streets.
Okay.
And they don't want to. Some of them don't want to kick the habit, and then you do have some that do want to kick the habit.
Okay.
But then you got the others that are pulling them down. You know,
Back into it.
Cause like, oh, you think you're better than us, this, that, and the other, right?
Okay.
Because, you know, misery loves company, so you try to bring everybody down with them. So,
Well, outside of drugs and just being a bum,
Yeah.
right? There's still people that just on hard times that just can't get a leg up. You know, and I'm not saying anything about, you know, like, so what's it called, where you get your rent paid and food stamps and Section 8 government assistance, right? But government assistance, like I've gotten food stamps when I was in college, right? Because, you know, I had a kid and
Right.
I was poor, right? But as an adult right now, I don't qualify for that. So for some reason I was to lose my way and I was to go on hard times and I couldn't take out some type of loan or ask somebody for something,
Right.
then like I feel like I would have to figure it out. Where some people don't have to do that cognitive thinking of how to figure it out. They're waiting for someone to come save them.
Right.
And especially for men, no one is coming to save you for the most part. You may get some help
Right,
here and
right,
there, but Chris Rock, and I've said it before, Chris Rock had this quote where he says, hey, if a guy is standing out there like this with his thumb up trying to get some help pushing his car, people going to ride by him. But if they see him out there pushing his car, somebody might stop and say, hey man, you need some help, and help the man push his car.
Right.
You know, and that's the kind of things that I think we need to do as a society. We need to actually put people in position to help themselves.
Right.
And I don't have all the answers, and I can't say how we're supposed to do those things. But I know one thing right now, if the government cut off the water or purifying it or whatever, a lot of people don't know how to purify water. If the government had a food shortage right now, a lot of people don't know how to grow their own food.
Right.
You know, if the government said, hey, the police aren't coming, because everybody talk about the police all the time,
Right.
you know, and I've had some run-ins with them that were not good, but I also have seen where, you know, they are needed, right? Then we have to self-police.
Right.
these things are difficult things to do. We act like it's easy to do, but it is not. What if your house catches on fire?
Right.
What you gonna get out there with your water hose? You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
spray, or you gonna call the fire department?
Or do you start doing preventive things, having your fire smoke alarms, having
Right.
right, not the hydrants, what are the
Yeah.
fire extinguishers?
Oh,
fire
extinguisher,
extinguishers in the house.
Yeah,
You know?
right.
But we don't. A lot of people don't prepare like that.
Right.
You
Right.
know, like I was like, okay.
Because they know someone's coming to save
right,
you.
right.
When in real life, nobody's really coming to save you, dude.
Right.
And what has to happen is we have to build our own infrastructure in a way to where the community is more robust and works together.
Think about what you just said.
I want my neighbor to be able to, and my other neighbor, and this person grows some food, and maybe it's the barter system that
Right.
has already happened, but this neighbor grows food, this person got clean water, we got protection over here, and they got transportation. And we come together, we got a whole unit of stuff going on.
So you talking about now? I don't. In Austin, there are programs to help people like get back that want to get back.
Because if they had to do it,
Right.
they gonna do it. How you gonna eat?
Right. But children, you said, how do we get our children to do it?
Right.
How do we?
We gotta teach them.
Right. But that don't mean they want to.
I mean, but I also didn't want.
But having the avenue there makes
if they
it,
want to
makes
get
a
some
distance.
water, then they got to. You
Right,
know what I'm saying?
right.
Like they have to learn how to do it. That's like if we were, because right now we have a very a society that is built up in a way that everything is kind of given
Instant.
to us, instantaneous gratification. Imagine that, like I said, the food people shut down, right? We got to go out there, bow and arrow or pistol or something. We
Right.
got to kill the animal, skin the animal, cook the animal. We got to teach our kids this at a young age so they can survive.
Right.
These are skills that are needed. We're on the cusp of the global warming.
Hey, they just
The weather is crazy.
FDA just approved that engineered meat.
Oh, artificial.
Yeah, the artificial meat.
I don't
like
want that.
They just
Probably don't eat it.
Right, exactly.
You know, and we're on, we have all these wars going on, Russia and
Money.
Ukraine.
Money
and
driven.
Everything is money driven.
Right.
But money really doesn't have value unless you give it to them.
Unless you give it back.
I remember that people used to have to trade like wheat and corn and silver and gold and different. I don't remember 'cause I wasn't there.
Right.
But I knew that you had to have something worth value, not just paper with somebody's signature on it.
Right.
And I know that. Have you heard about a few places going into brick, which is the new currency that they're using? That they're kind of getting away from the dollar, and now they're using other like the gold standard maybe again. I'm not 100% sure, but it's called brick. And they have several countries that have signed off on it.
I know China's been acquiring a lot of
Africa's
gold.
going on that too, and they've been in Africa. I think I don't want to quote this, but a certain percentage of the population of Africa now speaks Mandarin because they have a footprint now. And there's a lot of stuff going on that is world changing. I think America really is kind of losing its footing as the number one. I mean, well, not even number one, but just as a high number global power.
Right.
How do we get that back? We need to incorporate our education needs to be changed completely. We keep learning about Christopher Columbus and all this. How does that push us forward? Like how, you know what I mean? It's not. How does that help us? And, then they got this. The critical race theory that we can't teach anything about that in school. Then they want to lock up our librarians because they have books that are about whatever.
Certain people in power want truths out.
How do we get the right people in power?
Yeah.
Because like you or me, if we were in power, it would be common sense that some of these things would take place. Why is it not common sense to the people that are actually in a position?
Okay. How many people do you know that could be a manager or something? Like, nah, I'm good. I don't want that.
A lot of people.
I just want to go do my job, go home. I don't need to be worried about nothing else.
I'll say this. There's a lot of people that could be political leaders, but they saw what happened to Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and a few other people.
Right.
And they're like, well, I don't want that spotlight on me first. I don't want my character tarnished and torn down secondly. And then I don't want to be murdered.
Right. And then my family, is all in trouble. So, I mean, there's a lot there, and you just have to have a large enough group of people that want to band together to do it. Because we've seen small groups of people make the loudest voices
Right.
and get changes done.
Right, that's
And
true.
it's just need to get a
Right.
lot more of people on the same page to want to band together and actually do so. But
So,
how do you do that? How do
So-
we get everybody on board?
well, we have to have a common cause and we have to have a plan.
Right, but but here's another caveat on that. How many people look like they're involved, they want this, but no, they just want the me, look
Right.
at me, look
The
at me,
ego,
and turn it
the
into something else,
self-centered.
because
Right.
they've never had
Right.
any form of power. You give them a little bit of power, and
goes to
then
the
they don't
head.
know how to operate
Right.
with it.
Right.
So,
You have to be very strategic with that.
right.
Yeah.
A very, very good question. Lots of good points. Is just it's a lot to it. There's no
Right.
simple turnaround on it, unfortunately.
So, and you know that there's a concerted effort to just water down some of the politics and things that we have now. We kind of have mixed messaging going on and stuff like that. So one thing I heard was that in 2024, for the presidency, if no one is talking about like issues for the culture or reparations or different things like that, don't vote. And I've talked to different people. Some people say that's brilliant. Some people say that's stupid because you're not using your constitutional right, and the other people that are voting are getting whatever they want done. But I think it's because for so long, people of color's vote, they've been pandered to like, yes, if you vote for me, I'm going to do this. Nothing gets done.
Nothing, yeah.
So do you shock the system and not vote, which is a big thing, and that's why
Right.
I'm talking about. That's a huge
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Or do you keep voting and putting people in office that are not doing what they said they're going to do? Because what's it called, lobbyists, and people of that nature who have the power are, NRA and different stuff like that. They're getting all their stuff pushed through because they got millions and billions of dollars
Right.
to get what they want and to grease the wheels, so to speak, and say, hey, do this for me and I'll do that for you.
Right,
Kind of
right,
like,
right.
rub your back or scratch your itch or whatever
Yeah,
they
yeah.
say. But then you got people that are poor people, right? And poverty does not have a color. Poor people are poor people.
Right.
And their needs are not being met.
Right.
And they don't have a voice.
Right.
And then when someone does speak for them, they don't have the votes, they don't have the political backing, and they don't have the votes in Congress either to get anything pushed through.
And I think that's probably why some of these things in the educational system are not allowed to be taught, because then you're teaching people how to give power. You're teaching maybe how to get all these professional political people that have done this for years and years and just
Right.
disengaged with what's really going on outside,
Right.
keeping them there because,
They want workers and not leaders.
yeah. And the information is being suppressed on how to do so.
What I'm hearing
But also, you talk about how do we get some of these powers out as well. Look at how much money is spent on these campaigns.
man,
And who's winning?
right.
The popularity contest. That's what I'm gonna
Yeah,
call it.
it's a
It's a popularity
popularity- it
contest.
is,
Because
it
it's
is.
not even about
What they're talking
what they're
about.
talking about. Because
Right.
some people are like, I'm voting this regardless without
Yep.
listening to anything. We've
Yep.
always voted this. That's
Yep.
what we vote. And
Yep.
then,
Yep.
they just close the ear.
I mean, look at Donald Trump. He's an enigma. Like, this dude talked about it in like the 80s or 90s and said, hey, I can be the president. All I have to do is this.
Right.
He went and did all of
He
that.
did exactly.
He spoke it into existence. And then, like, he has this stuff talking about how he treats women and, some of the racial stuff that we talked about. And if I was trying to be the president, same amount of money, right? But just look like I look. Some of those things would be disqualifiers off the rip.
They would have pulled some new dirt on you.
Right. That's what I'm saying. And I'm like, okay, so Arnold Schwarzenegger, not even from America. And I like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like Terminator, I'll get to the chopper, like all that stuff, right? He's cool. He's a great actor. How does he? It's got to be a popularity contest.
Be governor.
How does he win to be the governor of California?
California,
and he's
Hollywood.
but he's not even from America.
Well, that's why he couldn't be president. He could only do government.
Governor's a big job.
Yeah.
Then you look at people like Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was a movie star.
That's why he got on there. Trump. TV
so
show.
Who's the biggest? Right. Who's the biggest movie star, TV star right now? You know, like I don't know who it is. Let's say it's Samuel Jackson.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just throwing him out there. Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't know. But say, or The Rock, right?
Yeah.
Say The Rock was like, hey, I want to be the president. He doesn't even have to, I mean, he can lay out a generic, like, this is what I want to do, right? And people like, okay, that sounds cool.
If we generally like him,
then we
let's go. Let's give him a shot.
Right.
Let's give him a shot.
So, I mean, I don't know, man. So there's no
They're
rhyme.
like, is Kevin Hart gonna be your sister?
Right, this is crazy. There's no rhyme or reason for it, you know. And I'm just trying to figure out because there's an algorithm.
Yeah, of course.
There's a pathway to get to all the things that you need. Whether you know any type of success that you want, there's an algorithm for it.
And
You
with
have
their
to
platforms on your
figure it out.
videos or on your phone, they're like, oh, you like this? Let's feed you this. Let's feed you this. Let's feed you this.
There's been times when I say, oh, I want pizza, and then on my TV and on my phone, all I see is pizza ads.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? Because Big Brother's listening all the time.
Well, we keep our microphones
And we
turned
keep
on.
our
Our
microphones
notification
on.
services all turned on for everything.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. So how do we capitalize on that? Because I feel like, this is me, you know, feel is a big word, but if we take our most downtrodden 10 to 25%, right, and raise them up just a little bit, America will be back to greatness.
Bruh. Okay.
America, well, not back to great. America will be great.
So there's some things, I guess maybe this is, we just talking off the cuff.
Right.
We just talking off the cuff. I've been trying to figure out here lately, maybe people in Hollywood are starting to get too much power. That's why we getting actors from UK and everywhere else to come over here and play English roles and stuff like that. Is because maybe we need to get the power away from them a little bit and bring in these other people that act American.
Yeah, that's true.
It's very confusing for me.
True.
So,
that is true. The guy from Snowfall, the black dude. He's
yeah.
playing a black American guy, and he's
a gangster
from somewhere else.
Yeah, it's not his accent.
He's from like UK.
Right.
I'm like, there's no one in America that.
Yeah, he did good in the movie.
He did great. I'm not taking
great show, series, nothing.
I'm with immigration
Right,
all that stuff, but I'm just like, that's just weird. You know?
Idris
Elba.
Yeah.
I remember for a long time, Tom Cruise was the last samurai.
Right.
How? This other dude, I don't remember his name, the last of the Mohicans. How?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
So there, like I said, I think there's some other things at play there. Like maybe some people in Hollywood they don't want their voices to be quite as loud anymore. So let's go put the money over here and somewhere else.
And because when you do that with today's society, where there's social media, there's phones everywhere, there's cameras everywhere, a lot of these people, once people know that they have some type of big job or something, they become targets. They become targets to where they're like, oh, okay, you got some bread, you got some money. I remember when you took advantage of me. I remember when you did this to me. And guess what? I need you to run them pockets, and I need you to go to jail.
Right.
So people stay under the radar because they're like, I don't need them problems. I don't need the problems, but I need the money because they're going to keep getting money. You know, they're not going to let anything stop the bag and burn down the Carter. But they also understand that, hey, right now there's a spotlight on us. Look at that Harvey Weinstein or whatever his name was. Man, that dude, it was what's the Epstein dude, right? He had all the presidents and actors and all this stuff on the private islands and all this stuff. And guess what? All of that's coming out because, you know, this will really happen. So it's like, okay, we don't want that spotlight.
It's just, you know, they keep trying to sweep this stuff under the rug and sweep it.
And the rug is getting fat, boy. The rug.
You know, that's why you can only lie for so long. It's going to come out eventually.
Absolutely.
The truth on everything.
Absolutely. And John Gotti has a quote that I like. He says, I don't lie because I don't fear anybody. You know? And what that means to me is, like, I'm going to tell whoever the truth because they have no power over me.
Right.
You know what I mean? You have enough money, influence, power to where anybody says what they don't like about you or anybody does something to hurt you, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Now, short of, you know, killing you, you know, physically, but I'm saying as far as just damaging your character or anything like that, whatever they say doesn't matter. Donald Trump is kind of like that. He don't care.
He got no money.
He can say whatever he wants to say.
Right.
I think that is success. Being able to be free to live how I want to live.
Bruh.
Get up and go to sleep when I want to.
Hold
Have
up.
freedom to move around
sit up for
and
this one.
speak my truth when I want to speak my truth. Even if I'm wrong, give me the levity and the space to be wrong, right? And learn from that. But I get to speak how I really feel versus always having to hold back and shrink and be something less than what I really am and say how I really feel.
Right. Now, I ain't quite on that level, but as far as business and things like that, man, I've always been tiptoe.
Yeah.
I'm intimidating to them because I am 6'2", because I do walk around with a stature, because I do have knowledge, and I gotta try to make people not feel as dumb. And it got to a point where I was like, man, I'm just so stressed out trying to be this paid actor. People are like, what you do? I was like, I'm a paid actor. Because I act like this, and I act like this, and I act like this. You know what I'm saying? So I finally got to the point where, you know what, I'm gonna talk in a way that's business, you know, linguistic, you know, but outside of that, I'm gonna kind of, you know, be me a lot more.
Absolutely.
Because my stress level had like dropped a lot, but no easy task to get there, because you do like the things that you've acquired. You do like the positions that you're in. You do want to be able to continue to take care of your family and things like that, and you don't want to put those things in jeopardy. But man, that freedom, shit, it's nothing like it. When you can breathe a little bit easier and not worry about, is my hair this way or is my clothes, you know, a certain way for the meetings and things like that.
And it's kind of imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
Imposter syndrome. Yeah.
I cut my hair last December, and before, it was a startup company I was working for, and they're like, you know, diversity, inclusion, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna let my hair grow out, see what y'all talking about. And, you know, it was cool, but then it got to a point where, you know, certain meetings I'd be in, you know, make sure my hair is a certain way for this meeting and pull it out. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you to sleep. But, you know, and I was like, you know, maybe I could be put into a higher position if I didn't have long hair, right? And it finally got to a point where I just made the decision on my own terms to cut my hair. It wasn't because I was going for a position or anything like that. And man, lo and behold, like the very next day.
Got a position.
No, I was let go from work.
What?
Without even being on video or anybody knowing that I cut my hair. But I just got, you know, they downsized the company and let me go. But I was good. I was like, well, cool. I didn't have to cut my hair for no interview or, you know, or any of those things that, you know, we have to make decisions about that people don't realize that, you know.
Other cultures don't think about those things. You got people. Let's take Asian culture. They might got tattoos all over there because it's part of their culture, and it's fine. You know, long hair, short hair, whatever. It's fine. Right. Come over here. If I got tattoos all down my arms and whatever.
What's also the stigmatism of what's been given to a lot of Asian folks as well. They're all like brainiacs or super smart in school.
Right. So their outward appearance doesn't matter because they're not a threat. Right. Except for with their intelligence. Mm-hmm. Right? Or, you know, whooping you physically.
And then a lot of them also shorter too. So it's another level of intimidation that may not be there. Yeah. Right.
That's true. And I remember when I was trying to get a position, I had an afro probably about this big and this flying in the wind. I'm getting pulled over all the time, and I couldn't find a job. Man, I cut my hair within a week. I had a job. You know, and that was 20 years ago.
And that's also what Hollywood's fed everybody. So that's what they know, unless they actually have relationships with people.
We got to bust through these gatekeepers, man. Right. We have to become gatekeepers. We have to create these companies, create these job opportunities for people that are diverse, for people that may not fit the mold, but they have the intelligence, they have the spirit, and they have the right knowledge base to be able to do the job.
And kill those stigmatisms.
Not what you look like.
Right.
And so fast forward now, one of my bosses told me, he said, hey man, don't give me fluff. Bring you to the table.
Right.
So when I came to the table, I talked about what I could actually do. And it didn't matter what I looked like. I walk around with locks, but I had on a suit and tie. I was sharp, right? Mm-hmm. I still, my hair still, but it was nice. It was neat. I felt put together. But I wasn't sure how the people on the other side of the table were going to take me.
Right.
Based on, you know, I have chocolate skin. You know, I have long hair. You know, and I'm 6'3", 6'4", you know, 230 pounds. So, you know, that might be something because it's happened before.
Of course.
So then fast forward again. You know, I'm doing interviews and different things of that nature, and I get the call back. You know, and these are people that don't necessarily look like me. And they're like, hey, man, we want you. And I'm like, man, do I need to cut my hair?
Thank God.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know what I need to do. I'm like, what do I need to do when I already got it? But it's in my head because we've been so, you know, brainwashed to think and move a certain way to try to appease others when I just had to bring me to the table in order to be successful. And some of our kids need to know, man, be you.
Be you.
Whatever it is that you bring to the table, it's your authentic self. We need that in the world. You know, if, you know, let's look at like Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, he dances and sings, right? You don't put Michael Jackson in front of no computer. You know, you got Barack Obama. Barack Obama was a great orator. He spoke well. He was inspirational. You don't put Barack Obama.
Spoke well for his color.
Right, in general.
That's what the people will say.
Right.
You speak well.
Yeah, you cute for a dark skinned person.
Right. All the stuff
you just cute in general, right?
Right.
You know, then you got like a person like Bill Gates, right? Who he had to go through his struggle to get where he was. If you would have did anything different with these people's lives, we'd be looking at a parallel universe. You know how when you watch a like Batman or something, sometimes they go into parallel, you know, realities, multiverses, and you get to see what would it have been like if I married that girl from high school. What, you know, you get to live that life. What would it have been like if I would have, you know, had kids right here?
But that can also be dangerous for people who are in long-term relationships and things like that.
Yeah.
Man, if I ain't go with you and I went with so and so, man, let me think about what it could have been.
What life would have been like.
You know what? I come to the conclusion you gotta go.
I mean, again, like we were saying, sometimes that one thing is so important in your life. What if you chose not to go rob that store?
Right.
And you got caught, and your friend got killed, and now you did 8 years in prison.
Right. You
got a record. You come out for the rest of your life. You can't get a good job unless, you know, in certain areas because of this one thing you did.
And I tell my kids, when you go out, you go do stuff, just don't come back to me and say, Dad, I'm sorry. Maybe that'll help you with your decisions that you're making. Don't come back and tell me you're sorry. Right. And that causes them to think maybe a little bit.
Because I don't want to have to have that conversation.
Right.
Well, man, I appreciate you. We're running out of time. I really appreciate you coming on the show, man. So, for the topics of success, you know, we have roasted and toasted, right?
Yeah.
Roast something is we throw it in the fire, and we don't need to talk about it anymore, right? Toasting something is raise our glass to it. No, we don't have glasses right now, but our, you know, proverbial glass, I think that's the word. And we say our culture, our people need to discuss this in a more robust way so that we can move forward with this conversation. So with the topic of success and all the different ways to get it and some of the other rabbit holes that we went down today, like what would you tell your kids, the adults, other people, you know, your brothers and sisters in Christ, or whatever, about how to move the needle forward to be successful if you had 2 minutes to tell them?
Man, how to move forward is you need to identify what success for you is. Now, are you calling success buying stuff to impress people that you don't like? Is that success to you? Or is it finding something that you're passionate about and then finding a way to make money off of it, or turn into a hobby, which could someday turn into your full-time outside of your work? Or is it to not have to make those car payments anymore, you know, learn to pay for stuff cash, get away from that instant, I gotta have it now. You've been building debt for 5 years. Just because you decided to work 80 hours a week for a year doesn't mean that you are out of the hole because it took you a while to get there. Things are a marathon, not a sprint. Have your short-term goals, but work on your long-term goals in the process, and you'll find your success.
And for me, I look at complete freedom. Freedom to be able to say and do and feel how we want to feel within the parameters of making sure that we love each other, but still be able to say, this is tough love. This is how I really feel about this situation. This is what I want to do with my life, and be able to feel good about it, and just have complete freedom to. I like being in the educational field because, man, I get to sleep in for 2 months during the summer. During the school year is rough. 2 months during the summer, I can sleep as long as I want. Wake up when I want, hang out with my kids all day if I want to. I can travel. I feel free. I feel like a millionaire because I don't even know what day it is.
Right.
Because I'm just living my life. And I think sometimes in order to get our health back, our mental health and our physical health, sometimes we just need to take a step back from the riffraff of the world and have complete freedom to just be.
And think for yourself.
And exactly.
Think
And not
for
have to,
yourself.
I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Nah, man, I'm unplugging
Right.
for these months. And I think it's adding life onto my life because I'm not stressed. I'm living, I'm chilling, you know what I mean? And I think that's good for all of us. I also think we need to go to a 4-day work week, and get paid more, and all of that kind of stuff. And
if you have a difference of agreement with someone on something, don't be so emotional about it. Nobody's gonna grow yelling at each other. You're not gonna help anybody see your point of view by just yelling and name calling. Like, discuss these things and then just like, okay, that's what you think. That's what I think. Cool. And you have time to process it later, and not shouting matches. I think that's going to help us successfully grow as well, is having those conversations and be, candid about it and let the other person speak.
That kind of reminds me of something that I saw. It was on social media. This guy said, why people are sitting so close to each other and they're still screaming and yelling at each other? Because what's in their heart has gone so far away from each other, even despite their closeness in physical, distance. Their hearts and their thought processes are so far apart that they have to yell because they feel like they're not being heard.
That or they just don't know what to say.
Exactly. So, until next time, stay ready so you don't got to get ready. And stay tuned for another exciting episode of Roasting the World. Look for the movies 2024 January. The Frozen Hearts should be out everywhere. Look for Peacemakers 1 and 2. Nothing Without God, Part 1 and 2, and Closer to God. And we're working on a current film right now, trying to get Pescado G and the Big Michael is the Toxic King. So that's going to be kind of cool too. So look for it. Check it out. Peace.
Appreciate you.
Bam.